Hey guys, real quick, wanted to touch back at the end of this video. Started talking about dominant hands and how you need to study some places pre-flop, this, that, and the other. Definitely should go through those odds with you guys real quick and thought I'd just clip this on at the end. So when we're talking about dominant hands, just like I said, ace king versus any other ace x, king queen versus any other king x aside from ace king, right? We're talking about king queen versus king jack, ace king versus ace jack. Those are 75-25 spots. The dominant hands are 75% favorites almost all day, every day. It's pretty awesome. These are the spots that you live for, to get your opponent to call off when they're in such bad shape, and then we hope to win the pot. That being said, we're talking about Ace King. Ace King is a top tier starting hand, and everybody says, "Oh, no matter how I play Ace King, it just never seems to work out." Or Ace King is this, Ace King is that. It's so hard to play. No, it's really not. So when we're talking about odds and we're talking about equity and whatnot, if we think about pre-flop odds, Ace King offsuit, right, is roughly a 60% favorite versus any other unpaired hand. Hands like 9-10, Queen Jack, 5-6, 8-9, things like that, right? Roughly, give or take, a 60% favorite in most spots. That's great. A 10% edge is great. You want that every time you go to the flop. Every time. Now, I also hear people, every now and then that will be playing, and they'll be like, "Oh, I got it in with queens, and it was against ace king, and the ace king got there. It was so sick." Blah 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 blah. Well, when we look at the odds, it's really not all that sick. Let's plug in pocket queens here. We're talking about ace king versus any other underpair. We have ace king and ace king suited right here tagged, so we evaluate. And we see the queens are roughly only a 56% favorite to win the hand. Now, granted, the queens are the favorite. They have a 6% edge. I would much rather get it in with ace king versus ace queen and have that, 75% edge over, my opponent. That 75-25 spot. I want that edge. It's a massive edge. But here, the queens, only have a little edge. In that 75-25 spot, we have a 25% edge. My apologies. Anything over 50% is our edge. Because at 50%, that's where we break even. So everything above that is our edge. So dominant hand, 75-25, yeah, it's a 25% edge. We want that. 6% is great. Don't get me wrong. You need those edges when you're like moving forward and you're talking about moving up in stakes. When we're talking about the biggest games and the hardest stakes on the planet, a 2% edge is massive. Those guys are just so good at the game, and they're running their brains through these simulations every day. They're putting themselves through the ringer, studying, knowing this stuff. They're thinking like solvers is what they're doing. So a 1 or a 2% edge is massive at those levels of the game. For us, the guys who are starting out, the guys that are micro grinding and so on and so forth, yeah, we want the biggest edges we can get. So 75-25 spot, 25% edge, we will take it. So we can see the queens, while they're a favorite, aren't necessarily a super massive favorite. So if we have the ace king in this situation, we have a decent stack, and we suspect our opponent is going all in on us with, pocket queens, pocket jacks, something like that, against all these underpairs. Ace king is actually not doing all that bad. Let's take, and we're going to plug in some strong underpairs. We're going to leave it like that. Okay? We're blocking aces and kings, so while they could definitely be possible, for the sake of this example, we're going to leave them out. So, we have queens through nines. We evaluate. Still roughly a 45-55 spot. They actually lose 1/4%. Let's add in the aces and the kings just to see. 60-40. Because we block aces and kings so hard. 60-40. A 60-40% spot to be flipping with ace-king is a great spot. We have to take some 60-40 risks in tournaments sometimes. Knowing these things pre-flop will help you make crucial decisions as your game goes on. Absolutely. Now, talking about pocket aces. Aces are roughly an 80% favorite versus any other underpair, and roughly a 75% favorite versus any suited connector. Since we were just talking about blockers, aces have ace-king absolutely crushed. 92% versus the ace-king. Wow. I did this calculation before, and I don't think I used Equilab, and I came up with something like an 88 or 89% favorite. That's still massive. Holy cow. But if we look at this, aces over ace-king, which does happen from time to time, is a 42% edge. Holy cow, how much bigger do you want? In retrospect, now we take this, we remove the aces, and we plug in kings. How well do kings do against the ace-king? Well, there is one over, but the king is null and void, and we're way ahead. So basically, the ace-king is drawing to 3 outs, and pre-flop has roughly a 31% chance of winning the hand. So, we're looking at a 70-30 spot. While in reality it's more like a 69-31, we call these 70-30s a lot. The kings are a massive favorite versus the ace-king. Now if we look at this and we only do the suited ace-king, we evaluate, it's roughly a 65-35 spot. So still, the kings are doing great, and they have a 15% edge in this spot. We'll take it. All day, every day. It's a great spot. Great spot. Now, when we're looking at some weird spots like pocket tens. Pocket tens are always weird, right? Well, pocket tens versus any other two overcards. Oh, let's see. We're just going to fill these in. We're going to leave these out. We're just going to fill these in. Just like this. Just to make it, relatively close. Okay. Alright, we're going to apply and evaluate. Pocket tens, roughly, 60%-ish chance to win against all these overcards. Right? These are 60-40 spots. So we're talking about mid pairs, like, pocket sevens, eights, nines, tens, versus any two overcards. King, queen, king, jack, queen, jack. It's roughly a 60-40 spot. Right? Now, when we talk about suited combinations, and we're talking like pocket tens versus queen, jack suited, it's more than likely a 55-45 spot. Actually, let's run that and see what we're doing. We're going to clear this. Ooh, come on, let's clear it. And we're going to say, let's say king, queen suited, right? Let's apply that and evaluate. It is roughly close to 55-45. So we go from being 60-40 to like 54-46 roughly. So we call those 55-45s. I mean, I just use round numbers. It's easier to think that way, right? So, yeah, when we're talking about suited, we lose a little bit of equity. So, most mid pairs, 60% favorite versus any overs. 55 versus any suited overs. Moving on. One pair versus one overcard. Say we have the pocket tens again. Queen 9, king 9, ace 9. We're doing really well against. These are roughly 70-30 spots. Let's take and do the queen 9, jack 9, king 9, ace 9. Yeah, let's take out the suited variations and let's just do it this way. Okay, we're going to apply and evaluate. It is really close to a 70-30 spot. We're going to add the suited variations just for the sake of the argument. Apply and evaluate. Almost dead on at 70-30. We lose a little bit, so really close to a 70-30 spot when we have a pair versus 1 over. This is great. We are much improved rather than trying to dodge 2 overs. We're doing very, very well. So, just recapping, these are great spots to study. Ace-King versus any other unpaired hand, roughly a 60% favorite. Ace-King versus most any underpair, Queen-Queen and less, is roughly a 45% favorite to win the hand. So we're a dog, but we're really close to a coin flip. This is important. Aces are great. They're 80% versus any other underpair and roughly 75% versus any suited connector. They also absolutely crush Ace-King. Pocket Kings, virtually an 80% favorite versus any other underpair. Again, roughly a 75% versus any suited connector without an ace, and is a 70-30 spot against Ace-King, which they block very heavily. Mid-pocket pairs, 10s, 9s, 8s, 7s, are roughly a 60% favorite versus any 2 overcards. They get much better at a 70% favorite when facing 1 overcard. These are great spots. Study these. Memorize these, especially the pocket pairs. These are massive spots we should definitely be taking. So, knowing these odds and knowing your equities pre-flop can really, really make a difference in your decisions when it becomes crunch time. Wait till we get to talking about ICM. Once we start that discussion, all of this will make much more sense. Because we have to have a strong hand to make decisions when it comes time to, risk chips that mean so much. So anyway, figured I would tack this on as like a second video. So yeah, I appreciate every one of you guys. If you like these videos, if you like the content, hit that like button, subscribe if you want, and I appreciate everyone. We'll be putting out more content in the future. Thanks very much, and I hope to see you guys later.